like the Living Atlas. So just keep an eye out for that. One of the new products that we're also offering this year is over here in this section. It's our new concierge service. So essentially what the concierge service is having us do the work for you. Um, if you're interested in running a report but don't have time, we're more than happy to do this for a small additional charge. You can take a look at our product that the Site to Do Business team, like myself, will offer, but we also have partnerships with Earth Vision and Videomes, so you can purchase other additional products through them. All right, so we'll go back to our dashboard. And one other thing that I do want to point out before we get started and jump right in is I want to show you the Learning Center. So after this webinar, if you have any questions, you can either reach out to me. So if you go to the contact us section, right under here, under training is my contact, Alexis Rank. You could just email me at arank@ccim.com. Or if you want to take a look at some of the different other resources we have available, I would suggest taking a look at the How Do I section. The How Do I section contains about videos that are about 3 to 5 minutes long on specific aspects of Psych to Do Business, and we have this divided up per training level. So if you're new to Psych to Do Business, you can look at the beginner ones, and we have all the way up to advanced. Or if you want some more additional webinars, you can check over here, and we have actually all our recorded webinars located from last year here, and you can even go back to 2019. All right. And as Terry said, if you do have any questions, feel free to post in that Q&A section. I'll periodically be checking in on it through the webinar. And if there's any questions I don't get to during the main portion of the webinar, I'm more than happy to stay on at the end, or you can always just send me an email after the webinar. All right, so we're gonna jump right into one of the, I would say, most used tools in Psych to Do Business, and that's this business analyst section. So what business analyst is, it is an mapping tool and used for demographics. So if you're looking up an area, you can find out how many people live there, what the, excuse me, what kind of housing is there, businesses in an area. It's sort of to help you gain insight. When you first get to this homepage, you may not see any projects. So if we flip over to maps, you may get a prompt that says to create a project. Projects are basically the file folders in Business Analyst. So any sort of reports we generate or any maps we create have to be saved somewhere. And that's why you need at least one report to work in Business Analyst. Inside Business Analyst itself, there is their own training option as well. So if you want more specific content on just Business Analyst, you can always go up to this top. You'll see your username up here, and you can select this drop down for account details. And what we're going to take a look at is the guided tours. Guided tours are just as they sound. There'll be step-by-step instructions on how to accomplish tasks in Business Analyst. They go from creating your project to all the way to like creating a story map. They even include additional reading material. So if you wanted to find out even more information about aspects of Business Analyst, this is a great resource. They also do the fun thing is every time you complete a task, you get points and you get a neat little badge. So you can show off your badge to all your friends. All right. Looks like we don't have any questions about logging in or getting started in Business Analyst or any of our resources. So we're going to hop into some basics. I'm going to start off by clearing my map. So on this vertical toolbar on the right side, you can see that there's this little circle with an X. That's our clear map. And I want to start off with a fresh map. So I'm just going to go ahead and clear all my points. Okay, so if I wanted to look up an area in Business Analyst to start to run a report, create an infographic, I can easily just go to this top right corner on this blue bar and type in an address. So if I was interested in the CCIM headquarters, I can just type in North Michigan Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. And you can see that on this dropdown, multiple addresses will appear. And I just want to make sure I select the one I'm interested in. And you can see automatically it'll zoom me into this point. I have three options. I can either create a site, move the point, or remove the point. Moving the point is pretty simple. If I was like, oh, well, actually, I was interested in across the street and I wanted to actually take a look at the Tribune Tower, I can move that over. And then I can remove the point if I no longer am interested. But what we're actually want to take a look at is this create site. By creating a site, we're creating a study area, and that is where we need to start if we wanted to access any information. So we have the option of rings, drive times, or walk times. Rings are concentric rings around the point. Drive times is currently set to 5, 10, 15 minutes away from the site, and it's very similar to walk times. With all these, I have options. So if I wanted to change that to miles or wanted to flip this over, I can change that as well. For right now, we're just going to stick to that 5, 10, 15-minute drive time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And you can see I accidentally left it in miles, but no worries. I can always change that and switch it back to minutes. And you can see that I've adjusted it to what I'm interested in. And right from here, I actually have sort of an express way of creating reports. I can just select reports and select the drop down and select any report that I'm interested in. Now you may be asking, how do I actually know what's on these reports? You could either run the report and then see, but there's actually a way to preview anything you've run or can run. So we're going to go over to the report section up at the top. We're going to select run reports, and then we're going to select build classic reports. You can see at the top, we have a couple different options. We have add sites and we have sites selected. You can see if I select this dropdown, it saved the previous sites I was looking up. We're just going to go ahead and remove those. So it's just our Tribune Tower. And then you can see a list of all the ESRI reports, ESRI reports. Next to each of the reports, I can see three symbols. I have a star, I have a little PDF icon with a magnifying glass on it, and then I also have this more information. If I wanted to preview what would be on these reports, I can select this PDF with a search icon. And you can see it will pull up a sample report. If you've used Business Analyst before, you know that you can run multiple reports at the same time. Recently, within the last update, we did have a change. So now when I run multiple reports and create an all-in-one PDF, instead of it just emailing me this all-in-one PDF, we'll see that it'll actually ask me how I want to share this. You can see we have three different options. We have private. Private means just me. Public means anyone's allowed to access it. Or I have the option to share it within a group. For some courses, or you can create your own groups using ArcGIS Online if you wanted to include other CCIMs or other Site2Do-Business users to collaborate and share information. For right now, I'm going to set this to public and I'm going to hit apply. And you can see it's generating each report. Once it's finished generating that last report, You can see that it's going to create that all-in-one PDF. And what it's going to actually do now is I'm going to have three different options of looking at this report. I can either copy all these links and I can send these links to someone else. And you can see that if I click on one of these links, it's just going to open up right to this report. It will also automatically download the reports now. This download will just save to my computer, so I don't have to worry about getting them through Business Analyst and downloading them and taking that extra step now. Or I can always go here and within Business Analyst, select Open Reports to pull them back up. And the nice thing about this, remember how I was talking about projects and how all information you've created saves to your projects? Well, if I close out of this and I need this the next day, or I realize that I'm not at the computer in which I save these files, I can just log into Site2Business and go to Business Analyst, go to the top page where my demo, or my current project is called Demo, so go to my project, scroll all the way down to previously run reports. You've seen I've run a couple different reports here, and then select on the report I'm interested in, whether it's the all-in-one PDF or just one of the individual ones. And here I can pull up that report and save it to my new computer, download it, or copy that link and send it to someone else. This is really exciting in our last update. It's making reports way more accessible. Tedious steps, especially if you're running a bunch of reports at the same time. Now they're automatically downloaded. You have additional sharing options, as well as still having the reliability of being able to log in anywhere with internet access and access your reports. We also had a couple additional reports added, the big one being the civilian labor force profile. So this is available to anyone with a Site2Business account or the Esri reports. The nice thing about reports is, so you have all these standard reports that come with Site2Business, but you also have shared reports. Shared reports are reports that are created by other users of Site2Business that they have made available to anyone who has a Site2Business account, like ourselves. We have also put out some additional reports. So if you take a look for the word specialty, you can see that Site2Business ourselves have created some more specialized reports for our users. We have an industrial one, an office one, restaurant, retail, and one for appraisals. So these are available to you, and all you would have to do to access them is, again, all I did was I went to and when I'm here and select reports to run, I go over here to this little magnifying glass and I could just type in the word specialty or even just start typing it in. And you can see that all these will appear and you'll know because it'll say like STDB underscore CCIM. I just received a question of what is the source of all this data. So our data provider, Esri, who is also the creator of Business Analysts, gets their information from a lot of different resources, especially depending on the data you're interested in. Like they'll collect data from the American Community Survey, from government documents, tax, white pages based on business data. My suggestion for if you're interested in specific data is always take a look at different, we go back to like the classic reports, you can always find information by selecting these bubbles. But nice thing about Esri is they also put out methodology statements. So if we actually go to the Learning Center, we do host some of them on our site. So if you go into resources, and if you wanted some more information about the demographics, you can pull this up and we just included a link to the most recent methodology statement for demographics. And it'll go over where they're getting this data, what kind of data is available, as well as if you have specific questions on data, you can always reach out to us, or you can reach out to Esri themselves. They're more than happy to give you information. All right. So I'm gonna swing back over into Business Analyst. And I'm actually gonna close this, and I'm going to go ahead and we're gonna take a look at one other way of creating a site. So I'm gonna do what I did before. I'm gonna clear my map. All right, and I'm gonna go up to where it says define areas. And I'm gonna actually use this select geography button. So select geography allows us to actually zoom out to state level, search not by having an address, but we can actually search by if we were interested in a specific zip code or a specific state. It's pretty intuitive. If we hit this select from full list, we can just go to what we're interested in. So if we're interested in a state and we're interested in Ohio, we can select that. Or we can use this search function to type in something that we're interested in. So if I was interested in, I could start typing that in, go to my metropolitan area, find the one, it'll zoom in into that location, select next, and then it'll just automatically add it there. But there's a neat feature that we can use in the select geography to help us search for areas. So I'm gonna hit back, oh, hit back one more time. But first, I'm gonna clear my map. Again, to clear my map, I'm gonna go to the right side on this vertical toolbar. I'm gonna hit the sort of in the middle. It's a circle with an X through it. And if I hover over it, it'll say clear map. I'm gonna select that, select what I wanna clear, and hit clear. And you can see that it will remove it from my map. And I'm going to just again zoom out to the state level, and we're going to use this function called select from map. So I'm going to hit select from map, and I get to choose what I'm trying to select. So I'm going to keep looking at these metropolitan areas. And you can see right now it highlights all the metropolitan areas in the US. Now, if I was interested in just a specific area, I could click on each one and select each one that I wanted. But if I wanted to select all of them, I can go back to this vertical toolbar on the right side, and I want to take a look at the select tool. And what I want to do is just left click, and we're just gonna, it's gonna take a second. What I'm able to do is click on one corner and drag the select tool over all of the states and select all of these metropolitan areas at once. Just gonna take 1 second to load. Oh. And then once we have that, we'll be able to do a couple different things. Or of course, we're able to run reports on any of these metropolitan areas we've selected, but we can also run a couple different other reports. We're gonna take a look at running a comparison report, and then we're gonna take a look at running a suitability analysis. All right. And then again, if you guys have any questions of anything, feel free to post in that Q&A box. All right, so we're just gonna go with these metropolitan areas that we have selected. We wanna make sure we hit combine selected geographies. We wanna select no. And then you can see, we can zoom into this, that we have all of these selected. We can, again, as I was saying, run a report, but what I wanna do is actually select comparison reports. Comparison reports allow you to select our multiple areas at once and do a side-by-side analysis on these areas. As you can see, I have each of those metropolitan areas in Washington selected. I can take a look at the population. I can flip in between other standard reports that have been created. So if I was interested in household comparison, I can select that. And then I'm actually able to add any variable that is in Business Analyst to this. So I can select Add Variable, and I can actually pull additional information and compare it. So if I was interested in including population with this housing, I can go to the population variable, look under the most popular ones if I wanted to see the projected growth rate and with the current population. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go back to categories, and I can even add like income. So I was interested in the average household income, I can hit apply. And then you can see that included in this is the population variable and that total population variable I've added, as well as the average household income. If I wanted to flip it, I can flip it. One of the nice features that was added last year is this ability to make something a benchmark. So if I wanted to make one of these, I'm gonna flip it back over just so this is a little easier to tell. Make one of these areas my benchmark. So like I knew I wanted to look for another area of a similar make. I can select these three dots and select this make benchmark. Now you can see that the area that I selected in my benchmark will be at the top. And then what we'll do is it will sort all the other areas in my comparison report and mark whether it exceeds my benchmark or if these numbers fall below my benchmark. And the nice thing about benchmarks is I can always edit my benchmark style. So if red wasn't my thing, blue was my thing, I can switch that. The nice thing about this as well is when I download the report, so if I hit export and it downloads, it won't just download the information, so that population stats, all those variables, but it will also download that benchmark. So I'll get a snapshot of the variables as well as that benchmark, and I'll even include a legend for me as well. All right. I do see that there's a couple questions in the Q&A section. So as you notice, I have this little button here for admin. Admin is something for us to access on the back end. So unfortunately, we cannot add that to your account. And if you are trying to log into Psych to Do Business and you are a CCIM member, again, if we go to STDB.com, you could just go directly there instead of going through the CCIM website. I'm going to log out really quick. And we're going to select this login button. And then if you're a CCIM member, you're going to hit the CCIM member login. It's going to take you to the CCIM member login page, and you're going to use the same information as you use to access CCIM.com and your CCIM account. If you're unable to get logged in right now, don't worry. You can always go to the Learning Center for more information, or you can reach out to me directly. I will go ahead and make sure that at the end of this presentation, my contact information is available. All right. All right, and we looked, there's a question about pulling ownership contact information for specific areas or asset classes. So let's go ahead and talk about different ways of searching businesses in Business Analyst, and also another tool that we have available called Database USA. So we're going to go to Maps, and I'm going to do the thing where I go ahead and clear my map. All right, I'm going to select I'm done because we're done looking at comparison reports. And we're going to go ahead and hit our project at the top. And we're going to go pull up that site that I was looking up earlier. So it would be under Geographies and then My Geographies. And then we're going to scroll down. You can see I've searched a lot. And we're going to find, maybe it'll be a little bit faster if I type in. Yep. Select that. And we're going to hit close. That's the nice thing. Again, I'll just reiterate this, that if I create sites or if I create reports, it will save to my project. So that means I don't have to research information. Once I create a site, I can always go to my project, look under where it would be located. So if it's a point location, like searching an address, it'll be located under My Point Locations. Or if it's a geography like this one, it'll be located under My Geography. Or if you're creating a custom polygon, it would be located under My Polygons. It's pretty simple. All right, so we're gonna hit create, well, sorry, first I'm just gonna make it a little bit easier to see. I'm gonna turn off our fill. So to do that, I'm gonna go to options, and then I'm gonna select fill, and then I'm gonna select no fill. And we're just gonna hit okay. All right, and so we're gonna go up to the top where it says create maps, and then we're gonna select business and facility search. So business and facility search allows you to essentially do what I just said, or what it's called. You're able to search for different types of retail businesses or different types of facilities, so like apartments or medical offices in a given area. So you can either use this quick category option and you can search for something specific. So if I was just looking for healthcare in San Francisco area, I can select that and hit done, and I could just hit go. And first, it's going to search within the whole area. But if I just wanted to search by my site, I'll just go to here where it says by site and hit San Francisco. And you can see that it will just pull all the sites that are within that area. You can see right now, there's a bunch of dots on the map with a little circle above it. With that, that just means that there's so many points next to each other that the system put it as one dot and then listed the number above it as how many dots or how many businesses are in that dot. So if I wanted to take a look at it, I can select the dot itself and I can see each business. Or if I hit next, this is where I'm able to change my style. If I select uncluster points, our cluster points. With it checked, I'll have the circle above it with the number. When it's unchecked, I'll have each business represented by a dot. I can change my style. So if I wanted to show sort of just a heat map of where these offices, healthcare facilities are located, you can see a heat map of it. I can also change up to counts and amounts. So if I wanted to show revenue compared to location, I could do that as well. And then of course, one other one that's fairly popular is this types unique symbols. And with that, I can have each site be represented by a unique symbol. And then if I hit next, I can save it as a layer. I can export it to Excel. But we're gonna actually just select I'm done, and we're gonna do a new business search because there's actually been some additional information that has been added to the business and facility search. Really quick, I'm going to clear my map. So we're just gonna clear it of this healthcare option, but we're gonna make sure we leave our sites up. All right, so I'm gonna go back up to the top where it says create maps. And I'm gonna select business and facility search. And instead of selecting a category right now or a business name, I'm gonna go to this more options. And you can see that I'm able to select information based on category, but I'm also able to select by code. And I can also switch from, instead of doing that next step and switching by site, I can actually go down here and hit search extend and do this before I run my search. I also have this option to show all businesses. So instead of showing a specific category or a specific business itself, I can just take a blanket look at every single business up to 5,000 in the area. But all the way down at the bottom, we do have this other option. You can see right now it says data source. Let me see. I'll zoom in a little bit. It says data source and then it says info group. What was recently added in is these ability to switch in between two different data sources. We have info group, but then we also have safe graph data. And so if you want to see more details about each, you can select this show details. Essentially, safe graph data is a little bit more geared towards retail businesses, and will give you a little bit of additional information. So let's go ahead and switch to safe graph data and say we're looking for car dealer. Hit go. And so it's going to search for car dealerships within an area. And we're going to view full table. And so you can see that it will have business name, address, city, like the info group data does, but it will also include this category for brand name. So if you're interested in what kind of cars these car dealerships are selling, say if you needed to target a specific type of car dealership, this is a great resource for doing that. My suggestion with this new safe graph data is available is play around with it, run searches both with infogroup and safe graph. You may see some additional information by using both. Unfortunately, at this time, I do get this question, can I use both at the same time? Since they are two separate data sources, they can't be used in conjunction with each other. So you will have to do a little bit of legwork and run one and then run the other. So if we go ahead and hit next, and we're going to hit, just for a little bit of ease, I'm going to hit location, single symbol, we'll decluster our points, hit next again, and you can either, we're going to hit save as layer. And now since we've hit save as layer, this will save to our project. So if I need to pull up this information again, I don't have to rerun the search. I can just go to my project, go to my layers, and turn on my car dealer layer for San Francisco. Depending on the size of the layer or how many applications you're running at the same time, it may just take a moment or two to load. But once it's finished loading, you'll see the same thing we've been seeing before, is that layer over that San Francisco area. Now, the question was, can we pull up contact information for an owner? In Business Analyst, unfortunately, that information isn't available, but we can use another tool available called Database USA. Database USA essentially allows you to search and export business lists within defined geographies. So you can do the same thing in business that we do in Business Analysts. We can look for a radius around a point. We can look by state. We can look by zip code. We can even create our own polygons and search based on that. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up, that's it, Database USA. You'll get to this sort of initial screen that says find a business or an executive. My suggestion is just go ahead and skip that and go straight to advanced search. Because advanced search is going to be what you want. This will allow us to search based on geography. It'll allow us to search by a keyword. We can even do fun things like search based on employee size or annual revenue. For right now, I'm just going to go ahead and select a state. Or let's go ahead and take a look at a city, and we're going to select it by state, and we're going to pull up that San Francisco and make sure that's selected. If we hit update count, right now it's just searching for all businesses within San Francisco. But if we say we wanted to narrow it down by some keywords, so if we're interested in looking at coffee shops, we can select that as well. And then if we hit update count again, you can see that number has changed. If I hit search, this is where I can actually pull up information about those businesses. So I can either go through and select and just take this look at this sort of quick results view where it'll give me the name of the executive officer, include address, contact information, if available, as well as sort of the estimated revenue. If I wanted to pull up more details about this, I can just click on the title in blue and it'll pull up the detailed view. This is where I can even get more information on contact information, a little bit more refined estimated revenue, as well as any competitors in the area, what codes this falls under. So if you wanted to do a more specific code using the NAICS codes or the SIC codes, you could use that. Along with this is if it has any executive directories and contact information for those business owners or office managers, it'd be located right here. And the nice thing about all this information, so if we go back to results, is we can actually download this information as well. So if I hit download, it's going to ask me to name my download. So if we hit coffee shops SF. I have the option to either do all records, all untagged records, or I can pick a specific number. So if I just want the first 100, I can type in 0 to 100. The one thing you will need is Unlike Business Analyst, where it just automatically downloads to your computer, it's going to actually send us an email with this information. So I'm going to just type in arank@ccim.com. And then it will give us a couple different options on how to download it. So Excel, CSV, or text, we're going to keep it Excel. The main choice we have right over here is the choosing level of detail. It's pretty easy. Results view is going to be the information we see on the first page, and then details view is going to be all that information on the second page. And then you have the option for custom, which is basically you pick and choose what information you want to include. So for now, I'm just going to hit results view. I'm going to hit continue. And then you'll see you'll get a prompt that tells you it will email us with this information. Go ahead and close. And usually takes about 5 minutes for this to show up, depending on the size of the file you download. It usually downloads 1,000 results at a time. So those may just take a little bit longer. All right. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clear my map. And you can see, well, I just got the notification for my email that this record has been processed. So I can go to my email and I can go ahead and open up my download. And you can see it'll download to my computer. I can either double click on it and pull up this information. And you can see it's going to be an Excel file with this information that was on that results page. So it'll have email address that's available, phone number, full address. I'm going to exit out of this. And what we're going to actually do is we're going to add this data into Business Analyst. So we're going to select Add Data, and then we're going to select Import from File, and then we're going to select Browse. We're going to go to our Downloads folder because that's where I saved it, and we're going to select Coffee Shops, and then we're going to select Import File. Now, since these are addresses, they're point locations. If I was looking up like zip codes in an area, or I just wanted to search by that, I would select geographic boundaries. I'm going to select Next. You can see it'll automatically add the headers that are associated with address. So as long as you name your columns like address, city, state, it'll automatically just input that for you. If you name it something other than that, you may have to manually go in and select each column. I'm going to hit Next. And you can see it's going to be the same thing as the business and facility search. I can uncluster the points. I can change my symbol. The nice thing about this is I can add custom symbols. So if I wanted to make it a little coffee cup, or if I wanted to, we're going to go ahead, we're going to flip this over to types unique symbols, and I can see more options. Oh, and we're going to make sure we have it by business name. And say I wanted to make the Starbucks logo and add it in here, I can actually import my own custom symbols. So to do that, what I typically do is just do Starbucks logo and make sure I select image and select one that I would like. And I'm going to save this image. And I'm going to, just to keep everything in the same place, just download it to my downloads folder. I'm going to exit out of this. And then when I go back to Business Analyst, I'm going to hit Import Custom Symbol, go to my downloads folder, select that image, and hit Open. And then you can see that now in my custom catalog, I've included this logo. I can adjust the size if I want, and then select done. And then you can see I can zoom in that now each of these points will be that Starbucks logo. All right. And once I'm satisfied with everything, I can hit next. And like the same thing, it'll save as a layer. I could choose to save this layer only as points, which is what we're going to do right now. But I also have the option to save it as sites. So essentially creating sites with that like 1, 3, 5 mile radius around them. The nice thing about this is if I have these points and later on I'm like, I really wanted a site, we can actually later on actually take one of those points and make it into a site. All right. And then again, depending on the size of the layer, it may just take a second. We're going to select I'm done. And we're going to click on one of these points. And we're going to create a buffer, which is the same thing as creating a site. And we're just going to have it be a drive time. And we're just going to look at the 5 and the 10-minute drive time around it. You can see it's added there. And I'm going to go ahead and clear my map. I'm going to make sure I hit apply before I finish and select create site. Just make sure I finish actually creating that site and layer. And then we're going to take a look at, one of the ways of running a report that we've actually found to be more and more popular within business analysts, and that is infographics. So if you haven't used business analysts in a while, infographics are essentially reports, but instead of presenting things in that sort of like Excel PDF format, what it actually will present information is in sort of a more dynamic way in which you can actually take a look at information with images and pictures. And the nice thing about business analyst or infographics is they're also interactive, which is a little bit fun. So I can hover over any of these images and I can click for more information. So if I wanted to see a breakdown of course, what kind of degrees people are earning, I can include, select that as well. They make great presentation graphics. You can download these as PDFs or images, and you can include them in reports. The nice thing about them as well is you can actually download them as what it's called is a dynamic HTML. Dynamic HTMLs are files that you can send to anyone that is going to include this interactive element. So we're going to take a look at that in just one moment. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at one other feature that we can add in Business Analyst, and that are infographics, and that is this side-by-side comparison. The side-by-side comparison was also added last year. And if I turn it on, I can actually, like a comparison report, look at two things side by side. But instead of it being that Excel format, with the columns and the different boxes, it's an infographic. So I can still have the same interactive element and I can look at the 5 or the 10, but I can also add additional sites to compare. So if I hit this drop down, I can actually hit compare with geographies. And I can just automatically add some different geographies to compare my site to. You can see that if I select this, I'll get the nearest zip code, the county, all of this. I can toggle on and off anything. So if I didn't really need the United States, didn't want California, I actually just wanted the nearest zip code, I can keep that, or I can also hit add sites to compare. So I can also add sites that are from my project. So if I had another potential site and I wanted to include that, or neighboring geographies. So under the neighboring geography tab, these are sites that I haven't looked up yet, but business analysts will just automatically add these as sites for me to compare. I'm gonna go ahead and head, if I go back to counties, and I was like, yeah, I really actually did want that San Francisco County. I can include that and hit apply. Excuse me. And you can see, again, I have all these sites that I can compare to. Currently, I have my 5 minutes set as a benchmark, but I can also go ahead and switch my benchmark. And like benchmarking in comparison reports, it just compares all the sites to it. The nice thing, I did talk about downloading it as a dynamic HTML. So when I export the infographic and I export it as, instead of a PDF or image, this dynamic HTML, and I want to make sure I include this enable interactive experience and I create this file, you can see it downloads this file. And again, I'm going to reiterate because I think it's really neat. This file you can send to anyone. So this person doesn't need a site to do business account, doesn't have to be a CCIM member. You can send it to a client to show them this information. And so instead of sending them a static image, you can actually send them this interactive element. And the nice thing about this is this interactive element also includes all our sites that we're comparing. So you could switch through the 5, the 10, 15. And you can also do a side-by-side comparison with this in this dynamic HTML. The only thing is the dynamic HTML, like creating a PDF or image, takes a snapshot of what you're currently working on. So if I created the dynamic HTML and then later on I added sites to compare, that file won't have the additional sites. So I'd have to recreate that if I wanted to include the additional sites or the additional PDFs or infographics. All right, looks like we don't have any questions on that. One thing I do want to also talk about with infographics is the ways to add new infographics to your inventory. Oh, we're going to go back to infographics. So you can see up at the top, I'm currently looking at a custom infographic that I was working on. But underneath standard infographics, these are all infographics that come with a site to do business account. So I can scroll through any of them, take a look. But if none of these are exactly what I need, I can actually find additional infographics. So we're going to go back up to the reports tab. We're going to select run reports, and then we're going to select run infographics. So like this, there is the shared infographics in which I can search through any infographics that was shared. But there's also this My Infographics section. So the My Infographics section is either infographics I create myself or other templates that I've downloaded. So I can find templates by actually going to the Build Report section. I'm going to select, instead of Build Reports, I'm going to select Build Infographics. And it's going to pop me over to this sort of building phase for infographics. I'll either be able to select, if I wanted to build my own custom infographic, I'd be able to select from ones I've already created, a blank template, or any of the standard ones that come with Business Analyst. But I want to add a new template. To find that, I just go over to the right here and hit Add Template. And then I want to hit Browse Gallery. And you can see in this gallery, I can actually select different templates that don't come initially under that standard infographic. Um, they have some new ones, like ones for COVID-19. Um, we talked about that civilian labor force profile that was new to our report section. There's also an infographic to go with it. You can see I've already added this one. But if I wanted to include this community outreach profile in the infographic, my infographic library, I just hit add. And with a click of a button, you can see it's already downloading to my templates. I can select my templates, and then right there, um, I can go ahead and use it. Right now I'm in the build option, so if I hit open, it's gonna actually bring me to the custom infographics section. In custom infographics, there's some cool things you can do. One of the nice things is up at the top, it says theme settings. If I select theme settings, I can actually change the color and styling of the infographic. So if I wanted to match my brand, match a client's, I can just go ahead, select that, and it will apply this color scheme. These are ones that are standard, but of course you can always choose your own and make it unique. I'm just gonna go ahead and hit apply, and it's gonna bring you back to this. I'm gonna hit save, and I'm gonna save this as gray. So when we go back to running our reports and run infographics, you can see that under the my template or my infographics section, we'll have the option to select this new infographic. We'll be able to either select the one initial template we downloaded, or we'll also be able to select this new one in gray. We're gonna hit OK. So we're gonna go hit run reports, run infographics, and my infographics, and we want to select both of these. We also don't want to run this for 31 sites. So I'm just gonna go ahead, clear all. And then if you see this, if it's grayed out, that just means no sites have been selected. So I'm gonna hit add site. I'm gonna select currently on my map. I'm gonna hit apply. And then we just have to reselect the two we're interested in. We can either export one at a time, or we can hit export all. If you, this is also a new feature, is this ability to run multiple infographics at once. Like classic reports, we did some updating on this process as well. And of course, depending on how many reports you have, it may just take a minute or two to process. And of course, I'm able to download this in a multitude of different ways. Like we did up in the top right-hand corner in the sort of infographic viewer, we're able to download this as a PDF, an HTML, or both. Like the reports, it did automatically download to our computer instead of having us go through that extra step. And then we can always select open report and we take a look at the PDF of this as well. Right, I'm gonna go ahead and close out of this for now. All right. And I'm just double checking to see if we have any questions before I move into the final phase of this webinar. We're going to talk a little bit about suitability analysis, and we're going to talk about the new changes to the void analysis report. And then stay on the line if you guys have any questions. All right. All right. So we're going to go over to our map section. Oh, hang on one moment. Let me just go ahead and Zoom is acting up just a little bit. But we're going to go back to our map section and we're going to pull up some of those metropolitan areas that we searched before, and we're going to run a suitability analysis on it. You may have, if you've watched a previous webinar, you may have seen suitability analysis used for different point locations, so addresses that you've already had, but what you can actually do with suitability analysis is you can use it for geographic locations, which makes it an amazing site selection tool. So we're going to go back to our map, and I'm going to clear my map. And then I'm going to go to my project. And then I'm going to go to, I'm going to make sure I clear this. I'm going to go to my geographies. And I'm just going to select a handful of geographies that I've already searched. And once I'm satisfied with all those I've selected, I'm going to just hit close. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And then I can close out of all these pop-up boxes because we're not going to be running a report. And what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to go over to where it says run analysis. And then I'm going to select suitability analysis. I'm just going to go ahead and hit get started. And I want to select this add. I can either do it by adding sites from project or selecting features on the map. If I hit add sites from project, you can see I'll get that pop up and I can select the sites that are from my project, so I can bypass, add additional sites. Boop, boop, and hit apply. So we'll also include the ones from my project. And then what I want to do, hold on 1 second, is hit next. And then you can see that I'll have this button that says add criteria. So what the suitability analysis does is it allows me to rank sites. So based on criteria I select, so if I was interested in a specific population or specific income level, I'm able to take a look at any number of sites or study areas really, and compare them based on how well they match the criteria that I am interested in. So I'm going to hit add criteria, and I can either, what I want to do is I want to hit add variable from browser data or data browser. In this, I will be able to select any variable again that I have available to me. So if I was interested in population, I can select population, and I can also select income. I can select that as well. And what I suggest, there are thousands of variables available to you. I always suggest just taking some time, having some fun, clicking through some of these options to see what you would be interested in. there's some pretty cool ones. So I can also include if I was interested in high school diploma as well. But if I was, could also go to spending, and spending has a lot of cool variables, especially if I was interested in like food. I can see how many people are dining out. Oh, sorry, let me just go ahead. Um, One thing to be careful of, and mistakes I have made every once in a while, is you can see that on these, there is a little tiny drop down area. If I select that drop down arrow, that's where I actually get each individual variable. If I hit this checkbox right here, it's going to select all the variables underneath this tab. So if I was just interested in people who buy whiskey, I can select that as well, and then hit apply. And then you can see that on this bar, I have the different criteria that's available. So I have my population I've selected, median household income, as well as the other two variables, and I'm actually able to select the weight, so how important these variables are. So if I want a positive, so the more population that's available, or the higher population, the better it is for me. I want to make sure that it's a positive influence. Um, I can also select inverse. So if I was actually looking for low population area, I can select that as well. Or if I was looking for an ideal number, I can move that to my ideal number. So it'll search for things that match as closely to that as possible. All right. And then you can see, I'm just gonna keep that as positive. My sites that I have selected are now all listed and ranked based on how well they match things, the criteria I've set. So I can move this around, and I can, let me go ahead and select fewer options so you can see more. You can see that all these criteria, no matter how many I have selected, all have to match to 100%. You can't, search for beyond 100%. So if I adjust this, so if I was interested in 30, well, let's just say about 30%, all of the other variables will adjust to match. I can lock something, so that way that number doesn't change, and only the other ones I adjust do change. And then you can see in suitability analysis, I can take a look to see which sites match my area the best, and you can see that the higher the number, the more closely it relates to what I'm interested in. And as I said, you can use this tool with sites. So if you're looking at a couple different potential sites, and the nice thing about that as well is you can add your own data into that as well. If you're staying on for this webinar series, under prospecting tools, Ben's going to cover this a little bit more. So he's going to go more into detail about this. But this is just a quick overview to sort of get you familiar with suitability analysis, as well as to show you this new option of being able, or this new trick of being able to use, instead of sites, to use geographies instead. All right. Looks like I don't have any questions on suitability analysis. So I'm going to hop on to our last topic, which is void analysis. Void analysis is a new tool that has been added again in the last year. We're going to go back. And I'm going to hit pull up two sites in my map that I previously searched. So I'm going to search for a San Francisco site. And then previously today, I also looked up New York. And I'm going to make sure that is selected as well. And we're just turning on items that we've previously looked up. So we're gonna take a look at these two opposites on the coast. Void analysis. Void analysis is a way to see if there is a gap in specific businesses or facilities within an area. Ooh, excuse me. So under where we found that suitability analysis, we're going to take a look at the other option, which is void analysis. For void analysis, you need two things. You need three things really. You need the site that you're interested in. Well, so whether that is a point location, a geographic area, or whether that is a larger area like a state or your own custom polygon, you'll need that. And then you'll also need a reference area. A reference area is essentially what site am I comparing this to? So if it's a similar market area or an ideal market area and you want to see if this site has a gap, that is sort of what you want to take a look for in a reference area. You can also use sites that have similar population. Right now I'm using a little bit of drastic, little bit different sites because I'm going to show off some of the features that were added into void analysis. So we're going to select our area for analysis. We're going to look from currently on map. I'm going to select San Francisco because that's the area we're interested in. And then we're going to select reference area and we'll go back to currently on map. The nice thing about this is remember comparison reports and infographics. Like those, we still have this neighboring geography tab. So that does allow us to add sites that we didn't search previously. So if I wanted to compare actually to another area in California or a nearby county, or I could just go ahead and hit this neighboring geographies and search. But for right now, we're going to keep with this area that we've previously looked up and hit apply. And you can see that each of these the reference area will be in blue, and the analysis area will be this sort of diagonal line slashes. We're going to hit next. And this will be very similar to that business and facility search. We'll be able to search by a specific category, or we'll be able to search by a business name. So I can select the drop down, and if I wanted to compare food and restaurants, I can just select that category and hit done. And also like business and facility search, I can choose my data source. So again, I have the option for SafeGraph or I have the option for infograph. Since if you switch in between each of them, you do have to reselect what you're interested in. So we're going to hit done. And I'm going to go ahead and hit run analysis. And so what this analysis is going to show me is whether there's a gap or a surplus of businesses in my area, so my analysis area, and sort of what businesses are there and what businesses aren't there. And so once this finishes loading, you can see right now, we're going to hit view full table. We're going to go back for just one moment. Let's just go ahead and search for, oops, and make sure I have everything selected. It should pull up different businesses as well as the number of businesses within each of the areas. All right, so there we go. We can hit view. And so you can see right now, it's saying that there is currently what it's finding is a surplus. It looks like there might be something wrong with my reference area. Hang on one moment. Let me just go ahead and double check everything. Let's go ahead and we're going to select a reference area, but we're going to grab one from a neighboring geography. We're going to grab one from another metropolitan area that's nearby. We'll do San Jose, and we're going to hit apply. All right, I'm going to hit next. We're going to keep with that coffee shop, and we're going to hit run analysis. All right, so you can see right now, we're going to view our full table results, and we're going to get that surplus, we're going to get that reference area. Then what we could do is we could see which ones exist. The little circle with an X means that it doesn't exist in this area, there's none. And the little 2 on this side shows that there is 2 in that area. And you can go through and scroll down to see all the businesses that are available. What we can also do is one of the new features that was added is this normalize results by. So I can actually take any of the variables that I had, and I can hit browse variables, or I can just use the sort of quick things, and I can actually normalize the results. So say if I was looking at 2 areas and one had a drastically higher population, I can try to normalize that to see if the results are change based on this normalized, so to see if population was a factor and to sort of get a new perspective on the surplus or gap within that area. And one of the nice new features added to void analysis is when we export it, we can export it as an Excel. We can also export it as a PDF. And instead of just exporting that sort of that Excel file, essentially what it would be with the number of businesses in or not in the area, what we can actually also include is we can include the locations, but we can also include a map. So we can include a map of the analysis area, the reference area, or both. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit apply. And like all the other reports, it's going to take a moment to generate, but once it's done generating, you will see that we will have the PDF of our Excel business lists. We'll also have an image of both depending on the number of businesses, maybe a few pages, but down towards the bottom, yep, there's a lot of pages. We'll also have that image of our reference area, highlighted, sorry, backwards. This is both our areas together. We can also have just our reference area or just our study area highlighted. All right. And then again, if you do have any additional questions, you can always, let me go back to the Psych2Do Business homepage. Under our Learning Center, this is where we have resources for you. It's available to anyone. You don't even need to be logged into Psych2Do Business. You can take a look at the How Do I section, which is 3 to 5 minute webinars or videos on how to use Psych2Do Business. And then, of course, we also have additional resources. That's where we pulled some of that methodology statements, as well as other ones like how to understand reports or how to use the business app or business analyst app, which you can download for your mobile phone. That's going to be located right here. Or there's always the contact us section. The contact us section will include my information right down here where it says arink@ccim.com. That's my email address. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. We have about 3 minutes left. So I'm more than happy to stay on the line and answer any additional questions. Zoom is just taking a moment to pull up this Q&A section, so just hang on the line. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me for this webinar. I hope you join us for the rest of the series. You'll see both my colleagues, Ben and Carol, teaching the next couple of ones. Yeah. Nope. All right.
Hello, everybody. So, don't forget to join us next week, same time, same place. We'll be talking about ArcGIS online. I think you all agree that this is an extremely powerful set of apps and programs, and I think it would take hours of practice to become proficient. But Alexis, you've given us a good head start in that regard, and we very much appreciate your summary and contributions and taking us through this program. So unless anyone else, I see there are a couple of chats. Yes, we will have a link to this recording, and it will be on, the link will be posted on our chapter website, and it'll link to our YouTube channel, and we encourage you to check that out. You might actually be a little better off going to the Site to Do Business website and checking out their tutorials, because they can be a little more specific than what we had today. So let's see what else we have here in the way of chat. It looks like that's it. See you next week. Thank you for joining us.